Every club.
Every day.
The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Newcastle podcast, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Iain Mackay. You might have spotted from the Mr. Mackay Monday monologue title that I am unexpectedly doing a solo pod tonight. Nicola's not very well, so she couldn't come. Kevin got a bit tied up doing stuff and he's not back in time. So it's me on my lonesome. What we were looking forward to doing tonight was to have a good old chat about picking the bones out of the match against Aston Villa on Saturday lunchtime. And I think Michael had a good go at that on his own on Sunday morning for you. I just have in this first part one or two things that I would like to bring out that I think are really encouraging. And also, first of all, of course, I predicted a draw. I didn't predict 3-1. I did predict 1-1 and it was 0-0, but I thought we'd get a draw, and we did. We'd all said beforehand we would have happy to take a point there and then without playing the game, and that's what we got. And ultimately, we're all really disappointed because we were very dominating, particularly in the first half. I thought, to a man, the team played pretty well. Bruno was off it a little bit, but was made up for by how well Tonali and Joe Linton played. Harvey Barnes ran out of ideas a little bit, almost put a fabulous ball through for Gordon to score a header. And I think the fact that we've ended up with no goals is, in a very lazy way, it's easy to blame that on the fact that Alexander Isak is sitting somewhere not playing with us. But to be fair, I thought we did show a threat. I thought we carved out a number of opportunities. I think Konsa was sent off in the second half for bringing Anthony Gordon down with a clear goal-scoring opportunity. And then it was tough when they went to 10 men. They were going to be happy to settle for a point, and they sat back, and we ended up with the now infamous low block that we had to try and break down. But I do still think it was a really positive game for us. I think the fact that we entered half-time having had 8 shots, and Aston Villa hadn't had any, so they had an XG at half-time of 0, no shots on target, no shots at all. Testament to how fantastic Shah and Byrne were at centre half, and that was even more impressive than it would have been, because they did get turned over. They got bossed the last time we played at Villa towards the end of last season when we were hammered 4-1. I thought they were really, really good. So Villa had no shots in the first half. We had a number. Alanga possibly could have started his debut with a goal in the first 5 minutes. He could have squared the ball to Gordon, and it was an open goal, but you can't blame the lad trying to score 5 minutes into his debut. He snatched out a little bit. The keeper made a good save. It was a shot on target. Encouraged us for the rest of the half. We bossed them. I thought Anthony Gordon, who, despite everybody saying, it proves that we need a centre forward, I thought Anthony Gordon was a threat. He's not 6'4" to be winning headers against the likes of Mings and Konsa, of course, but he brings a different threat to the centre forward position. His pace is wonderful and scares defenders. Interesting, after the match, that Anthony Gordon said he really enjoyed playing there, and he thought, as he gets a bit older and more into his career, that he'll move off the wing and come more centrally. So, I don't think he thinks he's makeshift. I think he thinks he's learning his trade as a centre forward. So, I think he should be encouraged, because, he looks super keen. It's really good to see him so invigorated. By the end of the match, obviously Gordon could have scored, was brought down by Konsa, and we huffed and puffed. Didn't really have a lot of clear chances to score. Ended up drawing 0-0, which was ultimately disappointing because we were so dominant for that game. However, looking at some of the stats, that was only the third shutout that Aston Villa have suffered at home in their previous 49 games. And in fact, they had won each of the last 8 of their home games in the Premier League. So that's a great place to come away with a point. And we shouldn't lose sight of that, because all those points will add up at the end of the season, and Villa in their 19 games will probably end up whacking 13 or 14 teams at home. So we've got a good point there. I also like the fact that at the end of the match, Villa had expected goals of 0.13. So we really shut up. We really shut up shop. And that 2 years ago, when we qualified for the Champions League the first time, it was based on the quality of our defence and of not conceding goals. And if that's a sign that we're going to do the same thing this season, that's great. And I think that can only be helped by the fact that both Lascelles and Botman are approaching fitness, and Malik Chow has been signed to give us the opportunity to rotate. The main observation I was going to put out there, I think Burn and Shaw were as good as they were because they know Chow and Botman and Lascelles are sitting on the bench waiting for them to put a foot wrong to be given their next chance. Equally, although he didn't have a lot to do, but he did have a little bit in the first half of the second half, I thought Nick Pope played quite well. He made a couple of good saves. His distribution looked pretty good, better than normal. And I'm wondering if he had to play really, really well, because he is responding to the challenge of having a legitimate rival for the number 1 shirt in Aaron Ramsdale. I hope so. That's what the new signings are supposed to do: invigorate the squad, give new life into everything else, and get everybody working really hard. So hopefully, that's one of the benefits of the new signings that we've got coming in. I am going to go into signings in the second part. I'm not going to dwell on who else has come in just yet, because I was talking about the match. So yes, got the prediction of the draw correct. Newcastle get a point away at Aston Villa, which 46 of the previous 49. I've got that wrong. Sorry, none of the last 8 teams to play at Villa Park have managed. So I think that was a really encouraging performance. And roll on next Monday night when we have our home game, first home game of the season against Liverpool. That will be feisty, I think. Anyway, I am going to pause there. Here's Ken telling you all about Bioniq.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
That was the Bioniq advert recording with the giant pause that catches you out, but I was ready for it, so it didn't catch me out. Anyway, welcome back, and it's part 2. I'm going to just whiz through. I think as we do this every day, we need to log and record as and when things are happening. First and foremost, welcome to Jacob Ramsey, signed from Aston Villa for a fee of £39 million and announced on Sunday, I think, officially as a Newcastle player. If he's the replacement for Joe Willock, then that is a massive step up. He was aspiring to play for England a year or two ago. He was part of the same under-21 England team that won that World Cup that Anthony Gordon was player of the tournament for. So he has a high ceiling, and I don't think, if you believe Michael, when he's been played in slightly the wrong position at Villa down the left, I don't think he's had an opportunity to get to his ceiling yet. So fingers crossed we will get to see that. Eddie will eke out a little bit more improvement from him. We'll see him taking a more central midfield role. And great addition to the squad. News today about our impending striker, Johan Wisser, who we've been promised is coming for a month or something. First of all, he has deleted all of references to Brentford and put a black disc where his face is on his Instagram page. So he's just got rid of all of his pictures of him in his Brentford kit. So he's clearly keen to leave Brentford and join Newcastle. But I think Brentford have pulled a bit of a fast one. We all hoped that the signing of Ouattara from Bournemouth was the domino that could fall that would allow Brentford to do a deal with Newcastle for Wisser. But today it emerges that they think that Ouattara is a replacement for Brian Mbeumo, who of course they sold at the start of the window to Manchester United. And therefore they're going to need another striker signed before they can let Wisser go. Or, of course, it'll take a fee of about 60 million pounds to get him. So it's reported, which of course is way too much for a man already 29 and missing for 6 or 7 weeks in the middle of the season at the African Cup of Nations. So where we go from here, I don't know. We look for other strikers, presumably. I don't think we'll sign off 60 million for Wisser. Everything is still open. Brentford might sign another striker and get a bit more realistic. They were talking about 25 million at the start, and that seemed to have crept up to about 40 million to get him by the end of last week. But to jump in a day or two up to 60 million is just silly. What that does do, if we're talking about incomings there and looking at outgoings, what that does do is make it even less likely that Newcastle will have sufficient striker cover in by September the 1st to allow them to strike a deal for Alexander Isak with Liverpool. Watch this space. There's an impasse there. It's all up to Isak himself. When Isak says, "Soz guys, I do want to come and play with you and train with you," Eddie's ready to welcome him with open arms. And why not? He's the best striker in the world. Certainly, in my opinion, if he'd been playing against Aston Villa, even without the training, we'd have won that game. I think even the space that him playing centre forward would have created for everybody else would have got us a lot more chances. But the Newcastle crowd on Saturday's game certainly let him know what they thought about him personally. So all of this stuff's going on. You don't know if he digs his heels in and he doesn't want to play, but would he do that in a World Cup year? Does he want to look that disrespectful or blasé about his contractual obligations when he's trying to get a contract with Liverpool? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with it. I hope we're able to sign Wisser. And somebody suggested that we could have a word with PSG and see if they don't want to swap Ramos plus some cash for them to take Isak. That would be perfect, but there's only 2 weeks left. I don't think there's any time for us to do anything like that. Excuse me. Other little things that came out. There was something I was reading yesterday somewhere. Sorry, I can't give the reference about Davide Frizzante, very good midfield player, Italian international at Inter Milan, being on the radar to come in and play midfield. But I also heard, he was agent Tonali had been lining that one up for us, apparently. Probably made a nice story. Might have been true sometime last week, but I think the signing of Jacob Ramsey has spent the money that we have for a midfielder rather than going and try and get him. Maybe we could go and get him if we sold Isak and had lots of cash. But I don't think I mention it because Frizzante has been linked and he's a great player, great quality. But I think Ramsey's in. Therefore, that's probably it in terms of midfield players. unless we can get him on loan. But why would leave on loan? I'm not sure. Loan to buy? I don't know. He's a great player. But there you go. I mention it. What else have we got? Yeah, today they're all talking about the only guy being left for us is Gonzalo Ramos at PSG. He is a fantastic striker. He has been on our radar for a number of years. I think, you know, he was dismissed as being a bit too expensive when they were talking about him because he was going to be 65, maybe 70 million. If Wisser's price has gone up to 60 million, I would argue he's not expensive anymore. In fact, he looks a bit of a steal, bit of a bargain. And if we could persuade them to take Isak to boot, that would be wonderful. But certainly he is the calibre of a striker that we could bring in that would allow us to do a deal for Isak, whether that's to Liverpool or to anybody else. And let's be honest, we all really will be glad to see the back of him and not have to think about it anymore, rather than try and suffer the banter and pain of trying to reintegrate him. That's where I am. I don't want to see him in black and white anymore. Let us know in the comments below what you think. Can't believe I'm saying we don't want the best striker in the world to play for us again, but there you go. That's where I'm coming from. I don't really have any more to talk about on the transfer. What else have we got? Jacob Ramsey's in. Wisser's expensive. Fratese's not coming. Gonzalo Ramos linked. That's it. That's it today. Probably end of part 2. So I'll give you the Zencastr advert. Here we go. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. Straight, no jokes, nothing, straight through. This is very businesslike because I'm talking to myself, basically. I'm talking to you, lovely people. Talk back to me. Let me know who you want a striker. There's still 2 weeks. Have you got any secret fancies over in Europe up your sleeve that nobody's mentioned yet? Because I think, you could send your answers through to Newcastle United at St James's Park, Newcastle, UK. They'd be really, really interested in hearing your suggestions. Part 3. What Michael also did, I think on Saturday, was his predictions for the Premier League this year. And Michael, I get where you're coming from, but they are so dull. It's like it's almost not worth playing any matches this year. Picking Liverpool to win and Man City to be second, and then Arsenal, and then Liverpool, and Sunderland to finish bottom of the league. I mean, it might happen. I know it might happen, but that's not what football's like, is it? There's always a surprise package. I've done mine. And like I said to you when we briefly talked about it at the end of last week, my top 4 was completely different to you. Also, Michael, what are you talking about? Newcastle finishing 6th. We've got a much stronger squad than last year, and we were up for second going into the second last game of the season. I think you've underestimated where we're going to be. Anyway, let me run through briefly from number 20 upwards where I think the teams are going to finish. Can't get away from the fact that Burnley will finish 20th. I don't think Kyle Walker's enough. Really feel for this team, and you can see why they're digging their heels in about letting Wisser go when they've already lost Mbuemo, Thomas Frank, Damsgaard. If Wisser went as well, and they looked dreadful on the first game of the weekend. Wisser wasn't playing in that, so with the post-Wisser years would look like what Brentford were like on Saturday. I've got them second bottom, number 19. Equally dreadful, and swapped a few positions after I saw how they performed at Sunderland. I've got West Ham. They've lost Kudus. they've got Bowen. They're relying on Bowen. So you take Bowen out of the game, and who else have they got? I've got West Ham in 18th. Sunderland made some great signings and started with a really, really confidence-boosting 3-0 victory at home. I've put them in 17th because I still think they're going to struggle, but not as much as the previous relegated teams will, because some of these Premier League teams are weak and they haven't strengthened. In 16th, get my numbers right, hopefully. In 16th, I've got Wolves, who've lost Ait Nori, I hope that's how you pronounce it, and Cunha. Still have some good players, but that's a lot to come out of the team, and I haven't seen much replacing them. Leeds and Leeds and Leeds and Leeds, I've got 15th, which is pretty good for a newly promoted side, but they are a big team. Bournemouth in 14th. I was quite impressed with Bournemouth. Semenyo looks great. They've kept hold of Clivert, Christie, a number of good players there still, but yeah, don't know how the defence will line up. It certainly won't be as good as having Hoyson and Zebani. I can't say him. Anyway, when your two centre halves are both signed by PSG and Real Madrid after one season, you know that's a defence that's going to struggle to replace. What was that? Bournemouth 14th, Fulham 13th, Palace because they're always going to finish 12th. I watched Palace draw with Chelsea. Thought they looked really good. Not sure how long they will keep looking really good if they sell Eze and they sell Gehi. But the manager's great. Glasner's great. He no doubt will find replacements. Probably scouring the championship as we talk now. 11th, I've got Brighton. 10th, this is probably my surprise package. I've got Everton. I think Moyes had a great run at the end of last season. He's brought Jack Grealish in for a little bit of flair. Don't know how they're getting on tonight against Leeds. It was goalless with about 20 minutes to go. So that's top 10 finish for Everton. 9th, Forest, or low, Forest. That was after they'd lost Alanga and replaced him with a decent winger, but not on Alanga. I think today they've brought in a very good striker from France, Calamuendo or something like that. That might push them back up. But anyway, I then got Spurs in 7th, Manchester United. No, sorry, Spurs in 8th. That is, isn't it? Manchester United in 7th. Two much better seasons for those two teams. Um, when you look really good against Arsenal going forward, Mbeumo and Cunha look like they've been playing for Man United for years. Sesko looked like he's going to be a threat once he adjusts. But address the goalkeeping situation, really address the midfield situation. So, yeah, I don't think Man U are going to be too fantastic. I got Villa in 6th, Villa in 7th even. I put Chelsea in 6th. Yeah, everyone's got them higher up. I just think Chelsea are a totally unstable side. And another year where they have to bring in some expensive players to bed them all together. I know they've replaced Jackson with João Pedro and Delap. Jackson did do, 15 goals in each of the last two seasons, so I think something like that. So he's hard to replace. And they lost Madueke, who are quite rated. Don't know if this Gittins fellow will shape up to be as good as him. I don't think they've strengthened their squad. They still have Robert Sanchez in goal, who is not quite as bad as Onana, but he's a mistake waiting to happen. So I'm not sure Chelsea have improved. I know Arsenal are supposed to have done, and I've got them in 5th. Don't know. I just keep remembering Gyökeres when he didn't do much at Brighton and there was okay at Coventry in the Championship. and he's yet another Portuguese striker who's come in for big bucks like Darwin Núñez. So maybe Arsenal haven't quite got the striker that they hope they got. I've got them to finish fourth anyway. Newcastle in third. See that, Michael? That's support or blind faith, probably. But no, I think we've really strengthened the squad. I think we've got Elanga instead of Almiron. We've brought in Chow instead of Lloyd Kelly. We've got Ramsdale instead of Dubravka. Ramsey has come in for Longstaff. Another signing or two, if it is Wisser for Wilson, or any striker that stays fit for Wilson, is going to be a big step up on that. If Isak has to continue playing, then we haven't lost him. But yeah, I don't know why everything's so doom and gloom at Newcastle. We've strengthened the squad in every area that we wanted to strengthen, and we're still shopping. I've got Liverpool as runners up, which means that I've got Manchester City to win the title. I just think that they did a lot of their shopping in the January window for this year's title. Marmoush looks fantastic and has 6 months Premiership experience now. But I think their player of the season won't be Rodri. I think it'll be, I don't know how you pronounce his name, the Dutchman, Reindeers? It looks like reindeers. Him, he looked absolutely wonderful in a quite routine 4-0 spanking of Wolves that I watched. Anyway, that's my prediction for the title, Michael, different to yours. We'll have to remember we've done it and check in 9 months' time. My name's been Iain Mackay. Thank you very much indeed for listening. I'm sure there will be more than just one of us around for tomorrow, and there will be some conversation going on. In the meantime, if you disagree with my choice of Premier League finish, please let me know in the notes. If you don't think Newcastle are going to finish third, you haven't paid attention to what's been going on. We'll see you soon.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.